Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm Mike Drodis, Bible teacher and preacher. You have tuned into my YouTube channel, Solving the Prophetic Puzzle. Are you waiting for the rapture? Do you believe that one day the Lord will come back in the clouds and the trumpet of God will sound and the dead in Christ will rise first? Then we who remain shall be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, and caught up to be with the Lord? That's the rapture. It's happening. We just don't know when yet. God has an appointed time for that, like he has for everything else. God's timeline is not always like our timeline. In Genesis, we read that God created the entire universe in 6 days, and on the seventh day, he rested. When God was teaching his children, the Israelites, the Jews, the seed of Abraham, when he was teaching them about time, he told them, work 6 days, and on the seventh day, rest, and have a Shabbat meal. They still do that today. And even some of our churches are celebrating the Shabbat meal on a weekly basis. Monthly, God instructed the Jews to look to the new moon, or look to the moon and the phases of the moon. Makes sense. It's predictable, and it happens over and over and over again. And then yearly, God appointed feasts and festivals called the Moedim, which were appointed times for the Jews to celebrate. And it was all instructed for them to look towards God. God also instructed them, and according to the Shemitah Cycle, he would say, for 6 years you can work the land, but on the 7th year, let it rest. This 7-year cycle was called a Shemitah cycle, and the 7th year was the Shemitah year. After 7 Shemitahs, you'd have 49 years, and on the 50th year, you would have what they refer to as the year of Jubilee, the 50th year, where all the debts were erased and the land went back to the family who originally owned it. With that in mind, I want to go back to Daniel chapter 9, where we read about the instruction that Gabriel gave Daniel about the 70 weeks, the 77s, where one day is a year. Let's look at Daniel chapter 9. This happened after Daniel was praying and fasting about his nation. His nation was in captivity, and Daniel was concerned, what's going to happen to us? Gabriel came and told him this in verse 24. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. Now, doesn't it make sense that Daniel being Jewish and God having this Shemitah cycle, that it could possibly be that Gabriel was saying 70 Shemitahs are given to your people. 70 Shemitahs. One year is one day in these weeks that Gabriel is telling him. To do what? To finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the Most High. 490 years were allotted to the children of Israel, the Jews, to do exactly that. Now, he gets more specific. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command, in 445, King Artaxerxes made a decree to rebuild Jerusalem. From that point, to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That's 69 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome time. And after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. And that's exactly what happened. If you were to go back and calculate the years, you would see that 483 years from the decree of Artaxerxes, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, was cut off. Not for himself, but for us. The Lamb of God died for the sins of the world. And at that point, prophetically, God pushed the stop on the clock, on the time clock. And 69 weeks that Gabriel had told Daniel, 69 weeks had expired. There is only 1 week left. Now, right now, we are living in a time suspension or time out, whereby Jesus referred to it as the times of the Gentiles. the times of the Gentiles, but there is still 1 week left. 70 Shemitahs had passed. There's one 7-year time frame left, and that will occur in the future. When will it occur? When he, who is the he is the man of sin, the man of perdition. Look at verse 27. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. 1 week, one Shemitah, one 7-year time frame. But in the middle of that week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abomination shall be the one who makes desolate. During this future last 7-year Shemitah, 7-year tribulation, Daniel's 70th week, I believe they're all the same. We will see the man of sin, the Antichrist, ratify a covenant of peace and security with the many. Then in the middle of this 7-year time frame, he will go into the temple. He will desecrate the temple. He will declare himself God. And in Revelation chapter 13, we read that he will also have all people, both rich and poor, free and slave, receive the mark on their forehead or on their hand. That's all going to happen in this last 7-year Shemitah period. And we are wrapping up towards that. We are moving towards that. You see, we are the fig tree generation, is what Jesus said. In Matthew chapter 24, he was teaching his disciples, and he's telling them, they asked him, when will you come back? What is the sign of your coming? And Jesus gave them many, many signs and teachings. He says, in the last days there will be wars and rumors of wars, famines and pestilence, earthquakes in various places. These are the beginning of sorrows, or these are the beginning of birth pains. Then he talked about the fig tree generation. He said, when you see the fig tree blossom and bloom and bud and bring forth leaves, then know that summer is near. And this generation who sees that will see the return of Jesus himself come back. That's what he said in Matthew chapter 24. Israel is the fig tree generation. Since the establishment of Israel as a nation in 1948, there was a prophet who once said, can a nation be born in a day? Yes, indeed it was. And in 1948, May 14th, 1948, the nation of Israel was established. Since that time, we are now the fig tree generation. Since that time, we have seen 10 Shemitah cycles completed. We are now in the 10th Shemitah cycle. 10 is, let's talk Bible numerology for a minute. 10 is used 242 times in the Bible. 10 is viewed as a complete and perfect number, as well as 3, 7, and 12. 10 equals 4, the number of physical creation, plus 6, the number of man. 10 signifies testimony, law, responsibility, and completeness of order. We are now finishing up the 10th Shemitah cycle. Last month, in September of 2021. I'm now talking to you in October of 2021. And on September 6, 2021, we entered the year 5782, which is a Shemitah year. It is the last year in a 7-year cycle. This is the 10th cycle since Israel, the fig tree nation, has come back on the scene. Next year, next September, we will begin a new Shemitah cycle. This will be the 11th Shemitah cycle. 11 means disorder, chaos, and judgment. 11 comes after 10, which represents law and responsibility. The number 11 represents the opposite, which is irresponsibility or breaking the law, which brings disorder and judgment. Genesis chapter 11, man rebelled against God and they built the Tower of Babel. He judged them and confused their language, resulting in chaos. Now, in 2022, we will then start a new Shemitah cycle. It will go to 2029. At 2029, we will then see a new cycle begin. It will be the 12th cycle. The number 12 is found 187 places in the Bible. Revelation has 22 occurrences of 12. 12 is considered a perfect number. It symbolizes God's power, God's authority, as well as serving as a perfect governmental foundation. It also symbolizes completeness of Israel. Jesus ministered for 3.5 years, half a Shemitah cycle. Looking at different Bible charts, he finished his ministry about 29 or 30 AD. We know from Psalm 94 and 2 Peter 3:8 that one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. If we look at this one day as the Lord is 1,000 years, we can see that we are nearing the end of 6,000 years. If you add 2,000 years to the end of Jesus' ministry on the earth, you would be right about at the year 2029. That's when the 12th Shemitah cycle begins. Hosea said in 6:2, "Come, let us return to the Lord, for he is torn, but he will heal us. He is stricken, but he will bind us. After 2 days, he will revive us, and on the 3rd day, he will raise us up." From Adam to Jesus was 4,000 years. Add 2,000 years to the end of Jesus' ministry. Puts us right at 2029, 2030, the beginning of the 12th Shemitah cycle. What am I trying to say here? Let me recap everything. We are looking at Shemitah cycles, the way that God instructed his children to use to mark time. We are finishing the 10th cycle from the establishment of Israel as a nation. Next year, in September 2022, we will begin the 11th Shemitah cycle. 7 years of chaos. Possibly this 7-year tribulation period. Possibly Daniel's 70th week. Possibly the 7 years of chaos and instability. Before the 12th Shemitah cycle will begin 7 years after 2022. The 12th cycle represents God's power, God's authority, God's perfect government, completeness of Israel. Are we seeing this? We definitely are seeing these Shemitah periods come to pass, but are we on the verge of seeing the 7-year tribulation period, Daniel's 70th week, this time frame that was prophesied in Daniel of this last 7-year week? The 7-year tribulation period. It begins with the man of sin signing a covenant with the many. In the midpoint, he goes into the temple and he desecrates it. And then at the end, Jesus Christ comes back of this 7-year period and sets up a millennial kingdom. Are we on the verge of seeing all this? Quite possibly so. And if we are, then the rapture is that much closer. One last thing. Next year, when we start the 7-year Shemitah cycle, the 11th cycle, the years of chaos, possibly the tribulation period, possibly Daniel's 70th week. Next year, the Jewish New Year starts on sundown September 27th. You may be saying, okay, what are you talking about? I'm talking about it will start on 9/27. 9/27. Daniel 9:27 says, "Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abomination shall be one who makes desolate." Could we possibly see next year begin the 7-year tribulation period? We know it's a new Shemitah cycle, and we know that God operates with Shemitahs. Could this be the 7-year tribulation period in Daniel's 70th week that has been prophesied about? Hey, if it is, think how much closer we are to the rapture. The rapture is going to happen soon. Get ready. Hey, thank you for watching. I appreciate all your likes and comments. If you would like for me to share at your church or Bible study, please drop me an email and I'll see if we can work something out. Until then, keep watching, keep looking, because Jesus Christ is coming back soon. God bless you.